Hey guys, welcome back to Living in the Mom Lane, and welcome back to another What's for Dinner. I hope you guys enjoy. Tonight we are having a best baked pork tenderloin, and what you will need is one package of pork tenderloins, and I'm using mine from Butcher Box. It was so good, you guys, and if you don't know what Butcher Box is, I have a link down in the description that you can check it out and see what it's all about. You also need a 1/4 cup of kosher salt, 4 cups of warm water, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 cup of ice cubes, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of butter sliced into 6 pads. And in your spices, you need 1 tablespoon of chili powder and garlic powder, 1 tablespoon each of those, 1 teaspoon each of salt and onion powder, half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And then herbs to add later, you're going to need half a teaspoon each of dried parsley, dried basil, dried oregano, and dried thyme. So what you're first going to do in a gallon-sized freezer bag is mix the salt with the warm water until it's dissolved, and then whisk in the apple cider vinegar, brown sugar, and ice, and then you put the pork in. And you want to brine it for exactly 20 minutes and then remove the pork from the brine, and then you rinse it and pat it very dry. Next, you want to heat 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil in a large skillet over medium-high heat. And when the oil is very hot and it's just smoking, then you want to add in the pork tenderloins. And you want to sear each side of the pork until it's golden, and then you're going to put it onto aluminum foil. You're then going to sprinkle the tops of the pork tenderloins with the remaining herbs, the parsley, basil, oregano, and the thyme. And you want to rub that into the pork, and then you're going to drizzle 2 tablespoons total of lemon juice over the tenderloins, and then you add 3 pads of butter onto the top of the tenderloins, and then you want to completely enclose each tenderloin using the foil. And then you're going to bake these at 400 degrees Fahrenheit until the pork registers between 145 and 150 degrees at the thickest part of the tenderloin. So about 15 to 25 minutes, depending on the thickness of your tenderloins. You want it to be juicy and slightly pink in the middle. When the tenderloin is done, you want to let it stand for about 5 to 10 minutes before you slice into it. And you can add additional salt and pepper to taste if you like. And I'm just serving mine up with some steamed broccoli, and I'm using the Tostitos salsa queso for a side. Our next meal, we're going to be making some chili, and this happened to be on a night that we had a cold front here in Florida, so it was pretty cold outside. So what I use is just diced tomatoes, light red kidney beans, chili powder, black pepper, garlic, salt, cumin, red and green peppers, onions, and of course hamburger meat. So I am making mine in my Instant Pot tonight. I'm going to first cut up all of the veggies, the onions, the green peppers, and the red peppers. I'm going to use the saute function on the Instant Pot to brown the hamburger meat. So I'm just going to brown it first, and then I'll add in some of the spices. And I have made chili so many times for so many years that I do not follow a recipe. I don't measure, I just eyeball it. So I put everything in, the onions, the green peppers, and then some spices, and let that just cook a little bit. And then I'll add in the tomatoes and the kidney beans. I almost forgot, I also put in some minced garlic. So I'm just going to use the bean chili setting and let it cook for 30 minutes. This pot of chili turned out so good, and I just served it up with some grilled cheese sandwiches. On this night we're having chicken tacos, and we like to use the corn tortillas and we fry them in ghee. So what I did was just grilled some chicken out on the grill, and then I cut it up in chunks. If you use store-bought taco shells, I would highly suggest trying to fry your corn tortillas in some ghee. They are so much better than the store-bought. I know sometimes we're running short on time, especially if you're a working mom, but this, once you guys try it this way, you won't go back to store-bought tacos. These are amazing, and I like to bring the sides up and then kind of flatten the bottom and let them fry that way, just so they'll be a little crispy and they'll hold their shape, and they'll be wide to put your meat down inside there. Once I fry the shell, I just put it upside down on a paper towel so that it can absorb some of the excess ghee. This night we're going to have pot roast in the crock pot. I'm using my grass-fed beef bottom round roast from Butcher Box. These carrots, I had actually chopped all of these up for Thanksgiving, and I was going to roast them, but I just ran out of time, so I had them and I thought that I would just use them in the pot roast. So I'm going to use some garlic, parsley, celery, onions, black pepper, and this is kind of like my chili. I don't really measure anything. I just put it all in the crock pot. I've made it so many times. Jason is not a huge fan of pot roast, and as you can see, I didn't put potatoes in it because I'm going to make mashed potatoes on the side. But this pot roast, he absolutely loved it. He said it was seasoned up very well, which I use the same seasoning as I always do. I really believe it's because we are using better meat. The Butcher Box meat is grass-fed, organic, and it really is good meat, and I do feel like it definitely makes a difference in the taste of how things turn out. I'm just going to put everything in the crock pot. I'm going to season both sides of the meat with all of the spices I'm using. And I almost forgot the celery salt. I put just a little bit of celery salt on there as well. And then I also use beef broth after I get all the seasoning and everything on. Then I'll pour a little bit of beef broth in there just so that it doesn't stick to the bottom, and it adds a little bit more flavor to everything. I set the crock pot on low and let it cook. I believe it was probably about 8 hours. And I served it up with some mashed potatoes and green beans. This meal is actually a different week. I had forgot that I had filmed the previous meals that you've seen thus far. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to waste all of that footage and not show you guys. So that's why you're getting some from a week ago and then new recipes that was on this week's meal plan. So this was supposed to be cheesesteak casserole, and I had a recipe to follow, but I decided to not follow the recipe and do my own thing. So I'm just browning up some hamburger meat, and as you saw, that was some garlic salt. I'm also going to use some Italian seasoning and black pepper and just cook up the ground beef. And then I also had some onions and celery that I had cut up for Thanksgiving, and I needed to use that up, so I went ahead and used that and some green pepper. I also have a pot of boiling water so that I can make some elbow macaroni. So now I'm going to add in probably about half of a block of Velveeta cheese. And this is actually Aldi's brand of cheese. And you just want to let it melt. And I do come in and just start cutting it up in smaller chunks so it'll melt a little bit faster. Once most of the cheese is melted in the hamburger mixture, you want to take that and put it into a 9x13 pan. And then you're going to add in the drained macaroni and mix it up really well. Pop it into a 350-degree oven and let it bake just for a few minutes, just so that it's all heated through and your Velveeta cheese is all melted. Everyone loved this meal, and my husband is not huge on casserole type dishes, but he really liked this, and it was very good left over. The last meal, I actually made this for lunch over the weekend. It is TriTip Stroganoff. I'm not showing all of the steps because we liked it, but we didn't really like it. I believe if I made it again, I would leave out the Dijon mustard. And my husband's not a big stroganoff fan anyways. It's funny because Amelia gobbled this stuff up. Things that you would think a kid would turn their nose up on, she loves it. It's so crazy, the things that she likes and the things she doesn't like. But I will have the link for this video down in the description if you want to try it out. I was using my tri-tip from Butcher Box, which was really good whenever I just fried it up in the pan. But like I said, I think that I would leave the Dijon mustard out. It just gave it an off flavor, which I'm not a big fan of that anyways. So I will have that link down in the description if you do want to try it and check it out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did like it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.